B2B distributors notoriously slow, as a whole, to adopt technologies into their operations. It often, unfortunately, takes a crisis or a major market disruption to spur them into action. ERP software is a great example. It's the backbone of many operations for distributors, and the many tools that modern ERP systems offer, especially now via the cloud, can be critical when navigating times of disruption. Yet despite these benefits, our survey data over the years has shown only incremental improvements in the rate of adoption among our distributor audience. In this episode, I speak with Sally Reitan, Director of Product Marketing for Distribution and Building Supply at Epicor Software, about how distributors might utilize ERP differently going forward compared to early 2020, and if the rate of adoption for modern ERP has accelerated amid the pandemic. All right, Sally, ERP platforms have been especially crucial throughout the pandemic amid rapid changes in demand and hectic inventory management. So as best you can, what do you think will be the biggest differences between how distributors were utilizing ERP at the start of 2020 compared to how they'll use it going forward? Has the pandemic highlighted any areas distributors maybe weren't emphasizing enough before?
Yeah, absolutely. We've seen actually a lot of distributors really accelerate their move to the cloud. One of the key reasons they have done this, of course, is because the cloud allows them remote access into their ERP system. It also allows them to maintain the most current release and have stronger security for their data. And all of that can be done without having to have people on site. So that's definitely been one of the big things. We've also seen a shift to a lot of our distributors focusing on the data that they can use with their ERP systems and really trying to gain insights, with their inventory levels, really having visibility into suppliers, maybe trying to make adjustments prior to a potential challenge that they see coming and really maintain those customer expectations. And finally, I'd say one of the other big things is, it's really that ability to stay in touch with customers. So that CRM functionality has really become critical for a lot of distributors, more so than it was even before the pandemic hit.
Well, we survey our audience every year about what technologies they plan to adopt or upgrade in the near future. And while ERP is always one of their top choices, the rate of adoption is always pretty modest year to year. So from what you've seen, has the pandemic increased the rate of ERP adoption or upgrade investment among distributors or manufacturers as a whole?
Absolutely. And, actually the supply chain really had seen some major disruptions prior to the pandemic with new entrants into this distribution space with things like Amazon for Business and other non-traditional entrants. So really, as you mentioned, ERP systems allow these distributors to manage their inventory much better and ensure an efficient supply chain. So again, that cloud move that we were talking about before was critical. And here at Epicor, we were actually ahead of this trend and had been deploying our software in the cloud prior to, and really had been helping our customers and prospects understand the value of having their ERP solution in the cloud. And a lot of customers are really finding that their on-premise solutions, if they were still on premises, they were maybe not as nimble as they needed to be to address some of the changes in the market so quickly. So we've seen a lot of our customers really making that investment into moving their system into the cloud, making sure they're on the most current system, taking advantage of all of those tools that we talked about earlier, to make sure that they are staying as efficient and being able to provide their customers with unique solutions that make them stand out and make them different by adding those value-added elements to their offering to their customers.
Well, while impacts from the pandemic have dominated supply chain disruption discussion over the past year, I think it's important to note that there have been major other recent disruptions outside the pandemic, like the Suez Canal debacle and Boeing's issues with its 737 MAX jet, for example. So given the constant threat of supply chain issues like these, just how critical can modern ERP be for companies today where it seems like chaos might be right around the corner?
Well, as I talked about it briefly before, but I mentioned that a lot of distributors are looking at data maybe a little bit more differently than they had in the past. They're also looking at different ways, maybe of having different safety stock levels than they've had in the past, taking a look at unique, their different items, understanding what needs to be, maybe have a higher, lower safety stock level. They might be looking at different suppliers, and again, really trying to provide unique solutions for their customers to be value-added distributors or partners really to their customers as they move forward. A lot of these other disruptions, we've seen a lot of security disruptions with COVID, with ransomware being, more and more common throughout the pandemic. So that's of course been a concern for a lot of customers as well, as they're making sure that their data, they hold so much of their customers' information and data. They want to make sure they're protecting themselves as well as their customers. And then of course, e-commerce has become a way of our distributors reaching out to customers really where they want to buy, when they want to buy. Some of these other disruptions might mean that somebody's up in the middle of the night ordering, or they need to pick it up at a different time. And how can they really provide that service to their customers, so that they can stand out and really stand out against some of those disruptions that we saw even pre-pandemic. And I think a lot of those things will continue on. These have become customer expectations, and we're going to see more and more of it, even as, hopefully this pandemic ends hopefully in the near future. But I think a lot of these trends are here to stay.